Welcome back, everybody. This is Amateur Hour Podcast. This is episode 20. We're in episode 20 right now. This is a big deal. It is the NFL playoffs, and we have our special guest on today. And the reason we have this special guest on is this is the actual Make a Wish Foundation edition of the Amateur Hour Podcast. And we have the last place finisher, Jacob Sepka. So, welcome on, Jake.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you for that kind introduction, Dave. And I just want to say you're welcome to everybody that was in the, in the Pick'em League this year for the donation by the Jake Sepka charity. I won early in the beginning a couple of times. Well, I didn't win, but I got a couple of third place finishes, so we got a little bit money back. But as you guys know, it took a steep downhill decline as the season went on. So I really don't know what happened.
I know exactly what happened. It's effort. It's pure effort out of you. I mean, you were putting the effort in early in the season, and you were coming out on the podium. You were shaking a couple bronzes, maybe even a silver in there once in a while. And once the effort weaned off, then you saw the losses just come rolling in.
That is big facts. That's a factual statement.
It's a numbers game. You just when we talk about NFL teams executing, it's going with the plan, doing getting at the tackles at the right angle. All you have to do is click a button 15 times. That's your execution, and you just could not execute. It's simple.
And you really think that would be simple execution on my part, right? But I really don't know what happened. It's just like I said, I just had to make my annual donation, and that's really the story of my life. It's just a promising start, a bright future, and then my shitty effort just comes to bite me in the ass.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay. Sometimes that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I hope it's not a euphemism for your life. I hope your life's more on an uptrend than on a downtrend.
Well, in the serious topics, as we're going through life, I feel like I'm maintaining a steady level.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. It's just the gambling aspect. I've never been a good gambler in the first place. And sometimes I just honestly, John, sometimes I got pissed off during the season, during the pick'em, because I put my picks in early in the season, and then I look at my phone like a Sunday night right before the Sunday night or Monday night game. I'm like, oh, sick, I'm in a 19-way tie for third right now. As long as I get the fucking score right, then yeah, I'll be sitting pretty.
And then you always forget to put the score in.
Yeah. Or I'm stupid, and then I picked the final score as like 59-64 or something like that,
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that play into you finishing in the top three, and I think there's a lot of quirks to this league, and you were not down for the quirks, that's for sure.
It's a great concept. I mean, I really enjoy the banter that goes on, in the group chat, and you guys have really turned this podcast into a weekly thing, recapping all of our struggles on the pick'em. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, how about that time that one guy in the group chat went ape shit? It was like 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And I texted the link of the podcast. It was like 9:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, and he just lost his shit. He's like, "Get me out of this group chat now! Some people have to work."
Yeah, I remember texting you and be like, "Does this guy have to work at 3 a.m.? Like it's like 9 o'clock. The sun is still up." Shit.
He's like a coal miner or something, or like he wakes up the roosters every morning or something. I don't know what he does for a living.
No, so it is Chad. I played Fortnite with him today, and mentally he's doing well, but I think he does get up at 4 a.m. But yeah, he doesn't participate in the pick'em, but he was going to originally, and then he like kind of faded out, and I wasn't going to start a new group chat with like 20 people, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll just leave him in.
Yeah, we don't like flakes, so he needs to be punished for flaking out on us.
Yeah, that was his punishment, is staying in the group chat.
Speaking of flakes, the all-time Mr. Frosted Flake himself, Nirvan, was supposed to come on tonight to recap the Vikings and their horrific loss, but he flaked on us, so we got the next best thing in Jake Sepka. So we're glad you were able. We're glad you were free tonight and able to come on.
Thanks, guys.
Jake, we're gonna have you on next week. It wasn't like we weren't gonna have you on, just so you know.
No, it's okay. I get it. Last in the pick'em and second in your hearts, boys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Can you tell everyone, just so you know, what NFL team do you root for? What's your football background? Are you a scout? Are you an analytics guy? Just kind of fill us in on your football history.
I really don't have a specialty when it comes to football, like you said, John. I'm more of just a fan. I just like to root for my team. I'm a Bears fan, similar to David. I know you're a filthy Packers fan, so
Yeah.
We can get into that, into the Packers, collapse this season and how they really shit the bed there in the last game. But yeah, pretty much just rooting for the Bears. It's a miserable existence, as David knows, but you just gotta stick with your team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it shows you have heart. Yeah, you have heart.
It genuinely feels good to be loyal like to your team because my favorite thing is like Bears Twitter, because when I'm feeling down on like a Sunday and I just watch the Bears get their ass kicked again, like I like going to Bears Twitter and just seeing everyone else that's in pain equally as much as me. And like texting your buddies, like I'll text Sepka and just be like, my eyes are burning after watching that, or I'll text Nate and say like, my heart hurts, even worse this week, and that always it connects you with the people that love the Bears equally as much as you.
Yeah.
Exactly. You share your misery together.
Yeah,
Misery
trauma
loves
bonding.
company.
Yeah, exactly.
Max always tells me about his Chicago buddies because he grew up in Huntley. And every year they talk about, like, in August, oh, God, we're going to make the playoffs this year. It's going to be so effing awesome. He's like, you guys are idiots. I think I looked at it. Is this right? Did the Bears end the season on a 10-game losing streak?
That sounds right. Yeah, that really does sound right.
Holy fuck, man.
Well, they were trying to tank. You know what I'm saying? Once I feel like they had the early season struggles, and then I thought, oh, here we go for another season of despair and misery. But it seems like they sort of turned it around as Justin Fields got it going, and but then I think once they figured out, they're like, oh, we got a decent quarterback for the future, but yeah, we're not making the playoffs, so let's just tank. Let's just ride the tank into the distance. Let's ride it into the horizon, and now we got the number one pick, John. You can't be mad about that.
No, you can't. That's worth a lot.
Yeah, we are an elite level team at tanking, that's for sure. But one thing I wanted to address because I think I'm not one of those delusional Bears fans. It's always funny. It's like we'll be watching the Bears usually are on like prime time on week 1 for some reason. Like every year they
Yeah.
put them on like the first Sunday night football game or Thursday night football, and we just get their ass kicked by like the Packers or the Rams or like whatever it might be. But like the Bears will have a good first drive, and I'll just like Nate and I will text each other and just be like Super Bowl question mark, and then everything goes down the toilet after that. So I don't know if it's us jinxing it or what, but I guess I want to address one thing is like the delusional Bears fans that are like, I see this all over Bears Twitter. They're like, well, I would rather go 3-14, have the number 1 overall pick, than like be close to the playoffs and not make it. Talking about the Packers and the
Yeah.
Lions, or they say like, or be, whatever the Vikings were, 13-4 and lose in the first round. I'm like, I would definitely not rather be 3-14 and have the number 1 overall pick. Like, I'd way rather be the Vikings. I feel like the Packers, that's kind of actually somewhat of a valid argument, but like the Lions and the Vikings I think they're on the come up, if anything.
Now, do you guys think there's some argument to this? If you're a losing team, like the Bears or like the Jets always are, it's hard to change that culture to be a winning team. Like they're just so used to the
Yep.
coaching staff, the players. The losses don't upset them as much. So they're like, it's just another loss out of 13 losses.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's how it is. You eat shit long enough, John, all you get used to is the taste of shit. So
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
really
good.
encapsulated the Bears since they're, that last, well, they were in the Super Bowl in like 2006, 2007, but
Lovey.
ever since the double doink, it's just been.
Oh,
I think it's a curse. I think it's
it
a
is.
curse. I think
Yeah.
what we need to happen is a reverse double doink where it doinks twice and then bounces in order to reverse the curse.
I think that would be a viable option. Maybe you could go out and try it to be the Bears kicker. I mean, I think honestly, any three of us could have been the Cowboys kicker last night in that game. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, I actually started feeling really bad for the guy.
I
How many
didn't feel
did he
bad.
miss?
He missed 4 in a row,
4
4
PH.
extra points in a row.
I only watched the second half. Was that in the first half?
Yeah, I think it was all in the first half actually,
Oh my God.
and then he
Yeah.
finally made one. I think at the end of the game.
Yeah,
That's tough.
he had like a 20% PAT success rate, and then league average is like 95%. So I think, honestly, John, I think if you put a helmet on and stepped out on the field, you could probably kick at least 35% of field goals out there.
Because what is it, a 36-yarder for an
33,
extra
I
point?
think.
33.
I was
Mike
a
Harvey,
JV kicker, so I could easily do that.
Mike Harvey apparently he hit one from 45 on the Lambeau practice field. He told me, I wasn't there,
What?
but they have a video of it. Yeah. Yeah.
No way. Mike Harvey?
He didn't have a holder. He just put it up. They had a little whatever tee you can put it on, and yeah, he claims it was about it was at the 30 or 35 yard line, so it was like a 40, 45 yarder. But he played soccer, Dave, so he's got that leg. He's got that energy.
Yeah, I get that. I could see where that's going. And when you're coming off a tee with like no pressure, it's a little bit easier too. Like you can just run up whenever you want at your own pace and kick it. But like when you got a rush come in and like you got to quick like time it out, it is much harder to get synced up. But missing 4 in a row as a professional is unacceptable. And I think he has what we don't like to talk about in sports. He definitely has the yips. And you know, you like you don't like to talk about the yips or especially with a player, but week one of the playoffs to develop the yips is a horrific time to have the yips.
I agree. There's actually not a worse time.
It's going to come back to bite them in the ass so bad, and I cannot wait.
You're just waiting in the shadows just for it to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Hey, before I don't have a relationship report card, and Jake, as far as I'm aware, you're still single, so you probably don't have one either.
Yeah, that's safe to say, John.
Okay.
Thanks for putting for everybody. Like, hey, does everybody know that Jake's gonna die alone?
Yeah, that was a low blow. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like first to start off the podcast, Jake, you're the worst pick'em league in the history of pick'ems, and by the way, you're ugly too. So I hope you take that to the bank.
Yeah, brutal welcoming for Sepka in the first 15 minutes of this podcast.
And then Dave never has a relationship report card. He just thinks what he like tries to guess what Jackie would say. So we'll skip it.
Usually I'm
honest.
I
want to hear it. I want to hear your report card this week, John.
I don't have one. Do you want me to go ask her right now?
I got a 9.75 because I washed the pots and pans that we had at dinner last night.
No, I know what David got. David gets a 0 every week.
Yeah, he does.
John, I visited Dave probably a couple weeks ago, and he clogged the fuck out of the sink by just pouring whole bricks of cheese in there and all sorts of stuff down the sink. He thought the garbage disposal was going to chew everything up. No.
I would like to go on record saying that I thought a garbage disposal like was meant to like chop things up. Like you could put anything down there. And
that's
so,
what I thought too.
So I put like a brick of like lasagna from the fridge, like leftover lasagna down there, and like a whole Tupperware of like some sort of pasta, and it clogged that bitch up so bad. And it was like the day before Sepka came, so I was like, "Yeah, bro, don't use that kitchen sink, all right?"
Whoa, I've never heard of doing that. Like you're throwing your leftovers in the disposal.
That's what I thought it was for, dude. I thought so you didn't have to throw it in the garbage. I thought it just ate it up, chopped it up. Boy, was I wrong.
Holy fuck. I'm glad you did it, not me.
Yeah, hey, lesson learned.
Thanks.
Any good beverages this evening?
Yeah, here, I'll be right back. Let me show you what I'm drinking.
Okay.
I got another little root beer float drink here. It's a little rum chata with root beer, so that's my little concoction tonight. I was feeling more desserty tonight. I thought, John, when you went for your first swig, that you had like a fifth of vodka. So I'm kind of disappointed that it looks more like water now that I look at it.
Yeah, what do you got there?
Oh, this is Jack Daniel's Down Home Punch.
Ooh.
Yeah. What were you? That was water. That you were drinking, right?
I was drinking water, yeah. And then this Down Home Punch I'm about to crack. What do you got,
Sounds
Jake?
good.
I've got this. I don't even know where this came from. I've had this in my fridge for like probably about 6 months.
Oh,
it's this made margarita mix. It's the only alcohol I had in my whole entire house. But it's basically, I think it's turned into yeast or something because when I drink it, it doesn't taste very good. So I'm probably going to get E. coli or C. diff or something from this. So I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah. Godspeed, bro. Godspeed.
Yeah, silver lining, you'll get a few days off work, huh?
Exactly, yep. And I get to show this video as proof.
Yeah. This is your doctor's note.
Dave, what was the lock of the week and the quarterback results from wild card round?
Yeah, sure. The lock of the week, I had the Cowboys -2.5. Excellent pick. Just pat myself on the back there. I had a great description of what I thought was going to happen, and that happened. So great pick. You had number one. You had the Chargers -1.5. So that did not hit, as we all know, the most tragic loss in one of the most tragic losses in playoff history. And then you switched it to the Bengals -8.5. They did not cover either. So
I thought they were 6.5.
Yeah, you said 6.5 on the podcast, but when I bet on the Bengals, it was 8.5, and I didn't win my bet. So
Okay.
I'm making you take 8.5 with me.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. And then quarterbacks, who did you have?
For my best performer, I had Trevor Lawrence, which first half not so much the case. Second half he played much better.
Yeah.
For my worst performer, I had Geno Smith, and yeah, he didn't play very well. So he played
No.
decent, kept him in the game for a while, but then the Niners pulled away. You had Dan Jones as the best performer, so that was a great pick. He played very well. You also sprinkled a little bit on Big Cock Brock Purdy, so he played well as well. And your worst pick was Kirk Cousins, who choked it down at the end of the game there. 4th and 8, throws it about 2 yards, and didn't exactly work out well for them. So tough loss for the Vikings and Vikings fans everywhere.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. And your boy Tom Brady he had a lot of passing attempts, so I think they threw the ball like almost 60 times that game.
Like 64, I think the final tally was.
Oh, that poor old bastard! That arm is just gonna be throbbing for days, huh?
Did you see that dime to Mike Evans at the end of the game?
Yes. That was
Mike
the
Evans should have caught that 100%.
Mike Evans was a complete disappointment for me in fantasy this year. I had him in one of my leagues, and man, he just shit the bed week after week until he pulled through in the clutch. In my
Oh
work,
yeah.
I had him I was in the championship, and he popped off with like that three touchdowns and like 220 yards.
Yeah. His last game, he went crazy.
And you started him?
Yeah, I did. I had faith in him. I thought deep down in my gut, I thought Mike's gonna go crazy this game. So I just had to pop him in there. My opponent that I was playing was so pissed. It was so funny. He's like, the whole fucking season, Mike Evans sucks. He can't catch a pass. Tom Brady's old and dusty. And then finally he clutches up in the very end. So he helped me pull out the W. I won my work fantasy league. So we're at least we're taking some W's this football season.
Nice. Did you guys do a buy-in? Did you win some cash?
Oh yeah, I won like $140 cash.
Nice. That's fun.
Wow. Yeah, I'm proud of you for sticking with Mike Evans. A lot of people would not have, Jake. A lot of people would have given up halfway through, because on top of that, I think that offense scored more than 24 points twice in the whole season. Otherwise, the rest of the weeks, it was less, so you're talking 2-3 touchdowns max. So, yeah, it's not a lot of points going around, but good on you for sticking with your boy.
Appreciate that.
I'll share my actual bets that I had this weekend, because I like to be transparent with the listeners. And Jay, for those that don't know, Jay calls me Davey Deficits. Sometimes I have a couple wins though, and then I'm Davey Dollars. So this week I was really back and forth on whether I went between deficits and dollars. So just to be fully transparent, I didn't love the Niners at 9.5, but once they were like close at halftime, I jumped in at -4.5. They ended up covering, so I won that one.
Nice.
I had a little money line parlay that collapsed horrifically when the Chargers lost. Then I had the Chargers -2.5, so that was devastating loss, just devastating.
Classic.
I did have a little bit on the over that game. I talked about it on the podcast too. That hit, so that cash, that's good. That's another win. We're talking like 2-2 right now. Then I had the Bengals -8.5. They did not cover. They won by 7. So we're talking 2-3 at this point. I had the Cowboys -2.5. They covered. So we're talking 3-3. I had the over in the Dolphins-Bills game. That cashed. We're talking 4-3 right now. I had the Vikings -3. Did not cash. We're talking 4-4, back to 500. And then I had DeMarcus Robinson anytime touchdown score. That cashed in the Ravens-Bengals game. So overall, 5-4 on the weekend. I had about $75 on the line, and I ended up losing $1. So,
you know what, David, and that transitions me great into my next point. 1 second here. I really analyzed your gambling habits over the years, David. So I've managed to come up with this sort of slogan for you. It's called the triple D. Okay.
Okay.
So tell me if you guys can see this. All right. It's called. Can you read that?
Yeah.
The
deficit diagram.
Okay.
Okay. So first, we're going to start off up here in the top right. This is smart bets win. So contrary to popular belief, David does have some pretty smart bets here and there. He put some good bets down, and he that leads to our next step here, which is a a major increase in confidence and a huge increase in false hope as well. So we see a small dollar sign gain here because David tends to put some money in this stuff. So that's that's transitioning here into really the start of the end, which is starts betting with heart. So here we're going to see a lot of bets with on the Oregon Ducks, on the Tampa Bay Rays, here and there on the Chicago Bears. A lot of times, any team that David is feeling good about in the moment, he sends it. He sends money on them and he thinks, oh, they're gonna take a fat W here. Eventually, that's going to lead here to our next step, which is minor losses. So, sometimes betting with his heart doesn't work out. So we see, a couple of dollars lost here and there, but nothing too serious. But then it really capitulates here into our most critical flaw, which is risk betting plus the quote, can't win them all. Okay, so that is I know this from experience too. The can't win them all mentality that David carries is a very dangerous sort of mentality where, you think, oh, I lost a few, I can't win them all, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep sending risky bets. But then we get up here into major losses and, a crippling despair. So I've seen David here a couple of times, and, it's not pretty to see. As we can see, the $3 signs all transitioning down. And that's really, that really wraps up the Davy deficits diagram. We go back up here, back up to ground zero, and then back over here to smart bets win. So that's really the whole premise of the Davy deficits diagram is, it's really a vicious cycle. But as David said, sometimes he's Davy dollar signs and that pays, but I've really broken this one down into a science. So
Jake, that is the best diagram we've had on the show. So I would give you the award for that. That's excellent work, my friend.
Thank you. I'm going to come up with something,
Sometimes I think you know me more than I know myself. So yeah. What I need to know is where I am on the cycle and what kind of unit size to have this weekend when I jump back into the gambling cycle. Because I'm going to have action on these games this weekend.
What are the units you're playing with? Because usually it's what is it? What units are you at? What's your unit size?
Yeah, anywhere from like $5 to $20, I'd say, is usually my unit size.
So it's safe, but it's enough to like where you're like, oh,
it's enough to get your heart racing a little bit. Yeah.
I like it. That's good, Jake. That's good.
Yeah,
I like.
Thank you, Jake.
Keep that up there.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like that guy that does the election night during the presidential election, breaks down all the different votes they need to win there. That's sort of what I was looking for there.
Hey, next year if you're free on Tuesday nights, we can get you just go work on the board. We can. And now we're gonna go over to Jake Sepka, and you got the electric screen that you're pressing shit on.
Yeah, I'll have a little segment, with some diagrams and some, some wisdom.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, you have to text me a picture of that. I'll tweet it out from the Amateur Hour Twitter account.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Thank you for that, Jake. What was your guys's? I don't know who wants to start, but can you talk about your surprise game of the week?
Yeah, I'll go since Jake's chugging something. I would have to say, looking at those games when I was watching, I could not believe I was flabbergasted that the Dolphins kept it close against the Bills. I didn't love minus 13.5. Come on, it's a playoffs. 13.5, that's a lot of points to give to any team, even the Bills at home. But the Dolphins, they had their third string quarterback, Skylar Thompson out of Kansas State in there. He looked shooketh. And he was out there keeping them close. Their defense kept them close. You got to tip your caps to the Dolphins there for making it a game, because I thought for sure it would be the Bills, pretty much handling business pretty easily. So that's why I stayed away from the spread. I just jumped in on the over and got to cash that in, I think, the third quarter. So it was a nice, easy ride to the over for me.
Yeah, very nice. I was surprised by that too, actually, because when they got Skylar Thompson back there, I thought this is going to be an absolute blowout. But yeah, that's a great point, Dave. They held their own actually against the Bills, which I really didn't think was going to happen. I thought that Josh Allen was going to have like 875 passing yards and 10 touchdowns, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like anything can happen in the playoffs, especially between two winning teams like that.
Yeah, divisional rivals. Do you guys know what is the status on Tua? Is there like long-term brain damage that they're concerned with? Or
There's
have
got
you guys heard anything
There's
about
there's
this?
got to be. He had like at least three concussions this year alone. I mean, if you Google it, they'll say two diagnosed, but you saw him just like get the stanky leg and collapse to the ground in that first concussion. That was definitely a concussion, not a back injury like they say. Like as someone who's had multiple concussions, that was a concussion.
I heard he had a whiff of marijuana hit him. It came from the stands and kind of hit him, and then he just fell.
Like in the cartoons, John, with the whiff of the baking pie in the windowsill.
Right, exactly right.
His nose.
Like Bugs Bunny. That's what
There
happened.
there
I
ain't
heard.
there ain't a strain strong enough in the world to make you collapse like that. That boy got cooked noodle legs out there on the field, and he collapsed like one of them car dealership inflatable things like this, bro.
Waveable inflatable arm flailing salesman or something like
Yeah,
that.
somebody unplugged him and he just collapsed to the ground like they were closing.
Speaking of the Dolphins, did you guys see that clip of Mike McDaniel's ripping the jewel on the sideline?
Yeah, like this.
No.
Yeah, John, he tried to sneak it. He was like holding his play sheet up, and he was like, and snuck it back down while the cameras are on him.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. You kind of remind me of Mike McDaniel, Jake. You look a little bit like him.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
know.
think you could throw on a Dolphins polo and maybe a Dolphins hat and get out there and coach?
I really think so. I kind of got the same build as Mike McDaniel too. You know, everybody on the field is like a foot and a half taller than me too. So, but I could chef up some nice plays out there for the Dolphins. I think some jet sweeps. You know, a couple of Hail Marys here and there, especially when you got weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the field.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a elite level QB like Tua to perform well, like case in point, Skylar Thompson. So I think Mike McDaniel's, you know, he's got a bright future there. I think maybe.
I think I could see you every third play. You just tell Tyreek, head for the fucking end zone, and he just sprints down every third play. You know, just take one shot every first down you get.
Look at the Chiefs, though. They used to do that with Tyreek Hill, and it worked like every time. You just can't
That's
have like
true.
you can't have a limp arm like Tua. You got to get a quarterback out there that can sling it. Like I wonder if the Dolphins would go after Tom Brady, maybe take a 1-year rental and see what happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that. I could see him. I know speaking of this, I know that some people think he's going to go to the 49ers. I don't see that because the two quarterbacks they have are so cheap. Like I could see the Raiders. I don't think he'll want to go to the Jets. I don't know. Where do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought what you just said. I thought either the Raiders, I think would be a decent fit for him. The Jets, they got a decent, you know, they got a good defense, but I don't know if he's going to want to go there, especially after the beatdown he used to put on them every single year in New England.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if he would want to do that to New England. Like, I think he could be successful in New York, but to go from Florida back to that shitty weather and like go in your own division and play against like your old team, I don't know if that's really Tom Brady's thing, but maybe I could be wrong. I could see him playing for like the Saints. Maybe they got some young weapons there. I could see the Dolphins. I know you guys say no, but hey, they have a smart offensive coach. They have really good wide receivers. They have a pretty good offensive line, a pretty solid defense. They just got Nick Chubb. So I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, I know they have Tua, but he does have those head injuries. I don't know if it's going to be a permanent thing. I don't know if they're going to want to be extra cautious with him and give a 1-year shot at Tom Brady and see what happens.
Did you say they just got Nick Chubb?
Yeah, I did say that, but I meant Bradley Chubb. I'm sorry.
Oh, what is Bradley Chubb? What position does he play?
He's a defensive end. He was on the Broncos, and they traded a pretty decent haul for him.
Okay. Okay, cool.
He had the strip sack in the playoff game against Josh Allen, but I think the Bills recovered it. But
Oh, that one. Yeah, I did remember seeing that. Jake, did you have a game that you watched that surprised you, or are you going to go with the Dolphins as well?
Dolphins was a good game. Obviously the Jags game. The Jags. Who did they play again?
the Chargers.
Chargers. Yeah. Shitty Justin, shitty Herbert, David. Oregon alum. David
Okay,
has been on Justin Herbert every single day since he came into the league. He's the best quarterback ever. He's going to win it all for the Chargers. He looks like a prodigy on the field. And yet what happened, David? Choke. When it mattered
Okay.
most.
Let's dig into that a little bit because I want to hear what you guys think about like what percentage of blame is there to Justin Herbert and where the rest of the blame, if any, can disseminate on that team.
Jake?
I honestly, I think Justin Herbert was pretty good this season. Like I think he performed to standard. I don't know in any of his stats or anything like that, but I feel like he had some pretty good plays here and there. And overall, I think I don't know what really let the Chargers down. It was probably their head coach, Brandon Staley. They should call him Brandon Stale because he sucks. He's stale on offense. You see what I did there?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
That's really good, Jake.
Yeah.
That's the football mind you guys are missing. Right?
That is the football mind.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, I don't know, David. David, what do you guys think about the Chargers? David, I don't want to hear you talk first though, because you're just gonna talk about Justin Herbert being the best. So, John, what do you think about the Chargers?
So Dave asked like what percentage blame would I put on Justin Herbert? I'd say like maybe 25%, 20% somewhere in there, because there's a lot of blame to go around. The offensive coordinator. Really, when you're up 30 points, you really shouldn't even need a quarterback. You should just be running the ball. Maybe, but for a quick slant here and there, you're just getting first downs, run the clock out. So offensive coordinator, the head coach would take a decent amount of the blame because I don't know if you're all of a sudden they score 2 touchdowns. You think the head coach would call the offensive coordinator and say, "Yo, man, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but change it, do something different," and that didn't happen. Also, a little bit of blame on the defense and who's ever running the defense because you let them score 30 points and a half, right? So, I mean, there's blame to go around. So I for sure don't think it's just on Justin Herbert. I mean, that would be ludicrous of me to say that.
That would be ludicrous.
From live
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brandon Staley's a big one to blame here. I think he should be fired. I'm calling for his job. I think they should go for I think they should go for Sean Payton, bring him in. I think he's an offensive mind and he could work really well with Herbert. He's actually been on record saying that Herbert's one of the guys he wants to work with. I think that'd be a lethal combination for the rest of the league. Let's see. Also, it starts the week before, right? So Brandon Staley, in a game that didn't mean anything for the Chargers, they would have the number 5 seed regardless of what happened in this game. He played all his starters like a majority of that game, and you see Mike Williams, who is their second best receiver, I would argue, behind Keenan Allen, who's been banged up all year. Both of those guys, you're putting those guys at risk, and sure enough, Mike Williams gets hit in the back, gets a back injury, and he's out for the season. So even if the Chargers made a run or a little run, not having Mike Williams there for the playoff push would have been horrific for them, and detrimental. And you saw in that game that it was. Some of those big like third down plays, they love going to Mike Williams on those plays, and they just didn't have that. You see their offense takes 10 steps back when Mike Williams is out. So I blame Brandon Staley for that. You can't predict like horrific injuries or injuries at all, but to put your players at harm's way is a huge red flag that Brandon Staley did. And I think a fireable offense. Number 2, I would say the offensive coordinator who already got fired. He got fired today, so yep. I won't even shit on him. We don't talk about another man's job. He already lost. Yeah, he got fired, so we won't shit on him anymore. But the defense, the defense for sure. You can't let up 30 points in the second half. However, it's hard to blame the defense when, I'll be honest, I was watching that game, and even in the first half when the defense had 4 interceptions and a fumble recovery, the offense should be putting up like 50 points off of that. Like the offense was getting a lot of field goals. They're getting some turnover on downs. Like that's inexcusable. It should have been more than a 27-point gap at halftime. If you're going to turn the other team over 5 times, the offense needs to punch those scores in. So, and then Justin Herbert deserves a little bit of blame too.
I don't know if this is wrong, but I don't think they scored it all the second half, did they?
3 points.
3 points.
31-30 was the final. 27-3 at halftime.
Like it's like you're driving down the highway at 80 miles an hour, everything's going right, and then you just slam it into first gear and fuck your transmission up. Like that's exactly what they did. I don't understand what happened at halftime. Like, was it the worst speech? Was he just like going around patting everyone saying, "You guys are doing a great job, just take the second half off. Don't worry, you played well the first half." Like I don't get how you have that much of a disparity, like how you don't keep your foot on the pedal.
It was a horrific collapse, and for me to sit there and have money on it made it even that much worse. Because I was basically counting my chickens before they hatched. I was like, this was a lock, And then next thing you know, they lost. So that was terrible.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about a lot of the teams that were expected to be really good looked beatable this weekend. So like the Bengals, I watched the Bills and Dolphins, and I thought the Bills didn't look that great. The Bengals Ravens, like I don't know if you guys watched that game, but it was basically 17-17. The Ravens would have scored a touchdown, except the freaking Huntley tries to go over the pile, gets it knocked away.
Oh yeah.
Bengals pick it up, run it all the way back for a touchdown. It was a 14-point swing in the game, and they didn't literally the Bengals didn't score again. The Ravens got like 3 or 4 more shots, and so I mean, if you're like if you put money on if the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, I think you're a little concerned right now because that's I guess each game's different, but it did not look very good offensively for the Bengals.
No, but if it makes you feel any better, like the Ravens have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but
True.
they play the Bills next, who have arguably, one of the best defenses in the NFL as well. So it's not going to be any easier on this road. So they do need to make some adjustments and pick things up because you're right. They almost lost to a Ravens team that didn't even have Lamar Jackson, so that to lose to a backup quarterback that the Bills and the Bengals did, it's going to be interesting to see how that game next week plays out because neither one of them look good.
Yeah, they really didn't. I don't think they did. I don't even know if Lamar Jackson helps the Ravens win that game. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Like, okay, yeah, he's a great player. Once in a generation type player because he's the two-way threat, throwing and running. He's basically like Justin Fields if Justin Fields was like 10 times better with arm talent. Maybe not. We haven't really seen Justin's arm, have we? But
Well, I don't know if you heard, Dave's got a hot take that Justin Field is one of the best passers he ever saw in college. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, what I said was that I think Justin Fields is a better passer than he is a runner.
That's what it was. Yes. What do you think of that, Jacob?
I don't know. I mean, part of me is saying Dave is full of shit, but part of me thinks, we haven't really seen what Justin Fields can do in this offense with some actual receivers, at his disposal. I mean, Darnell Mooney is your number one receiver on the team. You're going to have issues throwing the ball down the field. He's no Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams or anybody like that. So
And time, right? Just giving him time to
yeah,
sit back and go through his progressions.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears, if they can pull it together with the offensive line and some wide receivers, basically every single position besides quarterback, I think they have a pretty good shot this coming year.
Yeah, Jake and Dave, we can go into this now. What this is a big offseason for the Bears, right? Like huge because they have all this cap space being freed up so they can get free agents. They have a high pick in the draft. They can potentially trade back for more players or more picks in the second or third round. What would you like to see them do?
I'd either like to see them do one of two things: either keep the number one pick and take Will Anderson number one overall, or trade down and try and get like a second, maybe like Jackson Smith and Jigba, or Jordan Addison out of USC, or somebody, a true number one wide receiver, and then maybe another like an offensive lineman later in the first round or early second round. I think that those are really the only two ways that they can go because I feel like those are just their biggest needs. I don't know, Dave. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I actually love the Will Anderson pick. I am scared to take him number one overall. I feel like I don't know how to say this. Like it's not a reach because he's like that much of a talented player. And like he's been talked about for the past like 2 or 3 years, being this generational talent at linebacker. And we've seen in the NFL when you have like a difference maker at linebacker, it is a huge difference for your defense. Like leading the defense, making tackles, making interceptions, forcing fumbles. He would be a huge difference maker from day one that he's on the roster. So I really like that pick. But if you can trade back and have two first round picks is better than one, even if it's the number one. So I'm definitely intrigued by them trading back and getting, more players. Cause like you said, Jake, they have so many gaps to fill that I'm just worried that Will Anderson or Jalen Carter or whatever is not enough. I think they need to trade back and get more of these. The more players we can plug into this shitty roster, the better, because what we have now is not working, and plugging in one top alpha dog is not going to flip the script in Chicago.
I agree with that. like you said, John, it's going to be a big off season for the Chicago
Big.
Bears just to see where they go from there.
Yeah.
You know, the worst team in the league. Really, there's nowhere to go but up from here for the
That's
Bears,
true.
I guess. Yeah, but John, what do you think? I'm interested to hear what you think about the Green Bay Packers and what do you think they should do? I know they don't. Do they probably have a late first round pick or something?
Yeah, they're maybe probably like the 20th pick, I would assume, or somewhere in there, like middle. I don't know. Yeah, I personally think it's time to move on, Aaron Rodgers. I don't hate him or anything. He's done a lot for the franchise. He's been a fun as hell to watch all those years. I mean, he was just fun to watch because you knew even if you were down by 2 touchdowns, you were still in the game. And give him all the credit in the world for how well he's played. But I think he's getting into the years where I don't want to say you got to put him out to pasture, but he's just not.
Yeah, you.
He's not what he was, and he was a top 5 quarterback, and now I would say he's still a top maybe 12, 15. He didn't really play that good this year. I think he can still get back to like a top 10, but I don't think he's going to be what he was. So he's 39. The longer you hold on to him, his value is going to go down. So if he comes to them and says, "Hey, I'd really like to play at this team or this team, can you get a trade set up?" I hope they don't fight him. I hope they're just like, "Okay, we'll see what we can do," because personally, I don't like the front office of the Packers. I actually think they're the biggest problem in the organization. Like they do some dumb shit in the draft. They don't ever go for free agents. Like it's just very conservative. And so I would like if I had one person I'd love to see go, it's the GM. I think Gudkist, or I don't even know what his name is. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's like
Brian
Gutenkist or something like that. Yeah.
Gutenkist, yeah. That's who I'd like to see go if I had to send someone. But yeah, I think they have decent young receivers. The defense is still good. I would probably like to see a new defensive coordinator. I think the Packers, it's not really a talent issue. I think the coaching wasn't that good this year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
That's
one thing you can say about the Packers, I agree with you that they're never aggressive in free agency. But one thing
no,
I will say about them is they have good scouting of players. So these guys that they draft and the guys that they get in free agency, they're not guys you're like, sitting at the edge of the couch for and throwing a party that you signed them. But they are good players. They're productive players. Like they help the Packers get better. And usually
yeah,
they're for a pretty low price tag. They've just always struggled to make like the key move to put them over the edge. Like, okay,
right.
Packers have the pick. There's like 3 really good wide receivers in the first round
Quay
available,
Walker,
and then Quay Walker, like
who was
linebacker out of
good.
Georgia. It's
He's
like
awesome.
great player, but it's not fixing the problem that you have, and
Yeah,
that's I think the biggest problem with the Packers front office.
They gotta,
yeah.
John. They gotta get rid of Quay Walker after that filth he put on the field, pushing the trainer. Are you kidding me?
He's young,
Get him
Jake.
out.
He's like,
Get him
how
out.
old do you think Quay Walker is? These are like really young kids, man. How
22,
old do you think he is?
23.
John, but
22 years old, Jake.
you
What
couldn't.
you and I were picking fights at the bar at 22. I mean, you can't. Come on.
Well, yeah, I wasn't definitely was not the brightest light bulb in the bunch at 22 years old. Dave's got a couple of videos of me jumping in a bush and shit like that, but there's you're in the National Football League, John. Get him out of there. My uncle is a diehard Packers fan. I was texting him during that game, and he's like, "Cut him after the game. Get him out of there. Get 12 out of there. Get all of them out of there. They suck."
No,
Okay.
dude.
Honestly, John, if the Packers eat shit for the next 45 years, you'd see me with the biggest grin on my face too, because I'm sick and tired of them dominating the NFC North every year. I'm sick and tired of them shitting on the Bears and Aaron Rodgers saying he's the Bears' daddy and all that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, but my biggest gripe with Rodgers, like if we were paying him only 20 million, because you look at Brady, he makes like 15 million, which for a quarterback isn't really that much. But we're paying him 50 million a year. Like that's a lot of money to throw 2 interceptions in the game to go to the playoffs. Like you don't have to spend 50 million to get a guy to go out there against the Lions and throw 2 interceptions. You could pay like 500 grand for that.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
go out there and throw a couple picks against the Lions. I mean,
Fuck yeah, I could.
I was sitting on my couch cackling, watching him
Yeah.
throw the picks, and watching the Packers just collapse against the shitty Lions.
Yeah, yeah, that's bad. I mean, I was at the game, and yeah, it just was. I don't know. He just, but he reminds me. I think I say this every episode, but he reminds me of James Harden in the NBA. Like he has he's great during the regular season. He's dominant, but when he gets to the playoffs and it means something, he just shits the bed every fucking year. Yeah. 49ers last year, 49ers year before that. Like he just, you know what I mean? Like he just, I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers had, and I don't like when players do this, but he has to go ring chasing at this point because his
Yes.
legacy is almost on the line. If he finishes his career with only one ring, it's
Nick
going
Foles
like
has one ring, dude.
I know it's going against Aaron Rodgers' argument of being like one of the best quarterbacks of all time. It's like not a good look.
Yeah.
And the Packers have been good enough where yeah, they've had some teams, you'll have Packers fans argue back and be like, well, he's had some bad teams. He's also had some really good teams and some really
Yeah.
good like receivers. So like I think he has a couple years where he has excuses, but the NFC North has been down the past like 15 years that he's been starting. So he's
Yeah.
always had a good chance to win the division and make a playoff run. Number two, like he's had a decent team, at least a decent offense. The defense has been shaky in years past, but to only get one out of your how long was he there? 16 years as a starter?
Yeah. I think he started in maybe 15. 08 is his first year he started. I think he played a few games for Favre in 07.
Okay, well, the point is it's too long to only have one ring, and I think
Yeah.
it's going to hurt his legacy.
I just wanted to tell you guys and put this out there. So top fantasy scorers last week. No one really pays attention to fantasy once the playoffs start. Yeah. 3 quarterbacks, and I bet you no one would have picked these top 3. Dak Prescott was 1, Brock Purdy was 2, and Dan Jones was 3.
No
You
way.
know, no way in hell anyone would pick those as the 3 top fantasy guys, but they certainly all. I mean, those were all on winning teams, and actually, Kirk Cousins was the 4th best quarterback for fantasy with the.
Shout out
One.
Dak. Dak gets a lot of heat, and he got some heat
Does.
from me too on last week's episode because he hasn't shown much so far, but he proved himself. The wild card game against the Buccaneers in a hostile environment against a good defense. They pretty much babied them all game. It looked like a
Facts.
rematch of Georgia TCU. The Cowboys looked really good, so you got to give Dak a little shout out there. He performed very well.
So we got the divisional round coming up. There's 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. Which game are you guys looking forward to the most watching?
I'm looking forward to the 49ers Cowboys game. We talked, a little bit about the Cowboys, a little bit of the 49ers, but 49ers could not be any hotter right now. They struggled a little bit in the first half against the Seahawks, but went back to their old 49er ways in the second half. They're on fire. It's going to be at the 49ers. The Cowboys played a really, really good game against the Buccaneers. They're going to go on the road again to the 49ers with a chip on their shoulder, and it's going to be a pretty hard-fought game, I think. So that's going to be a tough one for me to pick gambling-wise, but I'm going to pick something, and I'm going to ride with it.
Okay, fair enough. The game I'm actually looking for is Giants versus Eagles.
Oh.
You got a divisional matchup there. They see each other at least twice a year, every single year, and now it's for all the marbles. You know what I'm saying? They got to lay it all out on the line. Daniel Jones looked pretty decent this last week, and the Eagles are the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? So I hate to say this, but I think I'd rather see the Giants win here than the Eagles because everyone's been all over the Eagles all year saying, oh, they're the best team in the league. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown. Yeah, whatever, okay, whatever. They're good, but I just like to see the underdog win. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to see the Giants win here. But yeah, I mean, other than that.
So Jake, do you
Chiefs blowout?
Do you think is Jalen Hurts supposed to play in that Giants game?
Yeah, oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, he played in the Week 18 game.
Oh, that's right. Okay, and so it looks like in the regular season the Eagles won both games, and I've always thought it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the season. That's my personal opinion. So I think it definitely will be a good game. Do you think Daniel Jones plays well? I know it's kind of gonna all rely on him and the atrocious wide receiver core he has to throw to.
Yeah, he's got a wide receiver core like the Bears, kind of. I mean,
oh boy, he's got the Bears wide receiver core, man.
I think it's going to be boom or bust for Daniel Jones. Either he's going to have a great game or he's going to have the worst game of his career,
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be like some mediocre, like maybe 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. It'll be like 3 interceptions, or it'll be the other way. 3 touchdowns, no run for couple, one or two maybe.
The good thing for my boy Dan Jones is he's got my boy Saquon Barkley. So I got his Penn State jersey
There he
hanging
is.
up in the background here because he played a great game against the Vikings, and I think he's going to show up again against the Eagles. Barkley was made for the big moments. You know, he was always made for these playoff games. I think he's going to perform well again. But the Eagles have a really, really good defense, one of those top 5 defenses in the NFL. And going to Philadelphia is always a tall task. So I think it's going to be a tough game for the Giants on the road. But I think it's closer than a lot of people think. You know, it's 7.5-point spread. I think it'll be closer than that. It's like you said, Jake, a divisional game. Those are always tough games. And the Giants are coming off a win, and the Eagles are coming off a bye. So you come up with the argument like, is rest better, or do you get rusty during that rest time? So rest versus rust in the divisional round, Giants versus Eagles. So I cannot wait to see what happens. And that's the same kind of storyline with the Chiefs and Jaguars. You know, the Chiefs on paper, this is like a walk in the park, like you said, a blowout, Jake. But the Jaguars are coming off a pretty emotional high with that comeback win. They feel like they can beat anybody in the world right now, and the Chiefs are coming off a bye. So are they a little rusty? Are they going to start a little slow? Like, I guess I'm kind of interested to see how that goes.
I haven't really watched the Chiefs play this year. Have either of you guys? I really don't remember watching many of their games.
Yeah, I watched a few of their games.
Yeah, they might have been better this year without Tyreek Hill, honestly. Like, they look great. Patrick Mahomes looked fantastic. Kelsey, of course, looks great. You know, I don't think anybody's really talking about the Chiefs because they've held that standard of being excellent over the last like 5 years or so. But I think they might be the favorites in the AFC at least to come out.
Yeah, and I've heard that's a tough place to play. Like, it gets loud as hell in there, is what I've heard.
Really tough place to play, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I agree with that statement, actually, Jake. I think when you watch the Chiefs a lot with Tyreek Hill, they were dependent on those Tyreek Hill, like crazy plays. And now you're seeing, you know, Patrick Mahomes figure it out with these much less talented wide receivers. He's spreading the ball around. He's making Juju Smith-Schuster look like a Pro Bowler again. So the Chiefs are much more well-balanced, I think, this year.
And Kelsey is still a baller at, like, what is he,
Animal.
34?
He's an animal, dude.
33,
He's head and shoulders better than any other tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't. Where did he even go to college? I don't remember. Like, I remember Gronk in college because he went to Arizona, right? Like, I remember hearing about him in college.
I want to say like Cincinnati or something.
Okay,
I'll look it up.
He's freaking awesome, I'm not a big film guy and I'm not a scout, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But I've heard he just has a knack for finding holes in these zones because most of these defenses in the NFL play zone coverage now, and he just has a knack for finding that like space where he's like 5 yards away from everyone. I bet that'd be like you, Jake, if you were out there.
Yeah. You think so?
Look at that.
Cincinnati. Okay.
Cincinnati.
I would be with you, Dave. I'm actually most excited for the 49ers and Cowboys because I just like the underdog story of Brock Purdy. I'm a little concerned, though, about this game because this is a really good defense.
They get after the quarterback. Tom Brady was struggling. You know, he had no time. He was running around. He's not very mobile at 45 years old. So the Cowboys were getting after him. They have a mean defensive line, and Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the NFL for sure.
All right, Dave, can you give us the lines and we'll do our locks of the week?
Yeah, but hold on. There's one last game we didn't talk about that I'm arguably the second most excited for, and that's that Bengals-Bills game. I think that's going to be a dope game. Both offenses are electric. The Bengals have a sneaky good defense, and the Bills have a really good defense. And at Buffalo has got to be one of those tougher places to play in the NFL too. So that's going to be a really good game. It's a Sunday at 2:00, so kind of good timing for that game as well. So we'll see. Yes. So let me give you the lines here. Let me get into my DraftKings account. So these lines are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino. Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have issues with your gambling.
That sponsorship, baby.
Okay, opening it out here, we have the Jaguars plus 8.5 on the road at Kansas City, minus 8.5. Over under 53. What do you guys? What are your picks for this first game? Let's just rattle through the games. What are your picks? Pick on the spread and the over under.
I'm slamming the Chiefs minus. What is that? 8.5.
8.5.
I'm slamming the Chiefs minus 8.5. There's no way. I think. Okay, sure. The Jags are coming off their shitty little win against the shitty little Chargers, and sure, whatever. They came back and won. But everybody knows they don't got it, okay? They don't got it this year. They snuck into the playoffs barely. They got a nice little winning streak at the end, okay, whatever. But they're playing against a well-established team that's been dominant in the playoffs. There's Kansas City Chiefs. So I don't think there's any way that the Chiefs put up or give up less than like a 14 to 17 point lead here.
All right, interesting. Would you argue that's your lock of the week then?
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll go out on a limb. I'll go out on a limb and say that's my lock of the week. Chiefs minus 35.
All right. Okay, thanks. He's gonna move the line like the Amanda Wiedemeyer special.
Yeah, I think they might call this game the Miracle at Arrowhead. I think the Jaguars have a good defense, and if they can get pressure and see, they can't just pressure Patrick Mahomes. They have to contain him as well, which is going to be tough. But I think they can keep it close and maybe. I mean, it seems like they have a horseshoe up their ass with that win at the Chargers. So you just don't know what that can do to the morale of the boys, Jake. You know, they're just feeling like no one can effing beat them after you're down. What is it, 27 points? You come back and win. I mean, that's got to be a great confidence booster.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever you. Okay, sure, I'll give you that one, but I'll just say this: the Chiefs are not the Chargers. Okay,
True.
The Chiefs are not the Chargers.
Yeah, that's big facts.
That's a fair statement. Yeah, and then I think I would hit the over on that.
53.
Yeah.
All right. This is a tough one for me because I could see the argument either way. Like, I love your argument, Jake. The Chiefs are the Chiefs and the Jaguars are the Jaguars. This is a don't overthink it game. Just take the Chiefs minus 8.5. You know, I see the Chiefs winning by at least 10 here, but I could see the Jaguars making it a close game. I was bamboozled by some of those spreads last week with some of those teams keeping it close. So I would not be shocked if the Jaguars kept it close. And knowing my luck, I would hammer the Chiefs, and next thing you know, they would be up 55-0, and the Jaguars would come back and win. So
can we quick talk? I forgot to mention the size of Doug Peterson's balls. His testicles are so massive.
Yeah.
To go for 2 points.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I guess analytically, you must have been thinking like if we miss the 2 points, we're down by 8, and we just go for 2 again if we get a touchdown. But no, because they would have been down by 4. I think is what happened in that game, right? They scored the touchdown and they were down before the extra point. They were down by 4. And they went for 2.
Yeah, because they could have went down 3 by hitting the extra point.
The nuts on that guy, I was like, holy shit. I thought it was a joke. I thought they were just trying to get him to jump or something. But I mean, that takes massive balls. So maybe Andy Reid's not ready for the size of them testicles, Jake.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure. We should warn Andy Reid about the size of Doug Peterson's balls as he flies his way into Kansas City. I'm gonna text all my Chiefs friends. I can't talk. All my friends that are Chiefs fans and say, "Hey, you hear about the size of Doug Peterson's balls?
Check out his nuts during the game. Yeah, just check him out."
All right. Sorry, I got something special for you guys. Hold on.
Balls, John.
I also have. Oh, here we go.
There's Doug Peterson.
There it is. There he is, Jake.
Yeah, there he is.
He's got the teal shirt on too. He's ready to roll.
Yeah, and there's Andy Reid's wife and daughter right there too, watching him wheelbarrow his big ass nuts into Arrowhead Stadium.
Dave, if you could Photoshop a little Jaguar symbol right above the breast pocket, that would be perfect for that.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. All right, I'll tweet it out. I'll tweet it out from the Amateur Hour Twitter account.
Oh boy, that was good. That's good shit. All right, what's the next game, Davey?
All right, next game we got the battle at Lincoln. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. You got the line at +7.5 for the Giants, over under 48. What do you guys like in this game?
Like I said before, that I like this matchup, but so I'm gonna have to go Giants plus the points here because, like I said, it's gonna be a boom or bust game for Danny Jones, and I don't know. I just think the Eagles might be a little bit fraudulent, even though they look dominant all year.
He's like, all right, I know our body of work is 18 weeks, but I think they might be frauds.
I don't know. I smell a little bit of bullshit here with the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? I hate Philly
Okay.
fans. Every Philly fan sucks. All they
You know what
talk
makes
about is Eagles.
you know what makes me think that you're wrong, Jake? Because I agree. I smelled fraud the entire season from the Eagles. So that's what makes me nervous about your pick here because I don't believe in the Eagles. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. I never did. So I don't hate the Giants pick here with the points. I'm probably going to hammer it.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride with the Giants as well. And so
Oh,
any bettors out there should be hammering the Eagles right now, boy. If us
don't
three
like
agree,
Eagles.
yeah,
That's dangerous territory.
that is very
I could
dangerous.
also see it being a sneaky under. I could see it being kind of a hard fought
Yeah.
defensive battle too.
Oh, that's
We talked about it last week, but the Giants' defensive line is actually really good, and they put a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins and perform well at the end of the game. So both of these teams have really good defensive lines that can get to the quarterback. I think they're going to apply a lot of pressure, and I could see it being a defensive battle.
I also want to say, like, it's a divisional game. The Giants have seen the Eagles twice already, so they have a decent idea of what they do. Unless the Eagles change something up majorly, they're going to be able to anticipate a lot of the different offensive schemes and defensive schemes. On top of that, it's not like they're traveling to San Francisco, right? I know it's an away game for them. I don't think it's a far trip from New York to Philadelphia. So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll be well rested.
And like you said, I mean, they play there once a year, so it's not like a new environment for them. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like the Giants going into Lambeau or San Francisco, like you said, where it's unfamiliar territory. They don't know how it's going to be. They know Philly's going to be rocking. They're going to get like batteries thrown at them. They're going to get spit on. So
Yeah.
they're ready to rock and roll.
yeah.
And I'll hit the under too. I'd go for the under on that one.
You know what's a crazy stat is depending on what book you use, the wild card games was a clean sweep of overs. It has to
Really?
be like a decade since that's happened. Like every game hit the over. The one that was close to the over under was that Buccaneers Cowboys game. I think a couple people had it at 45, so it would have pushed. But even to be like on the fringe or hitting, that's insane to like have all those games go so high scoring.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you got her.
I
No,
was just gonna
you.
say we'll keep it moving.
Yep.
Next game here, we got the Bengals and the Bills. We got the Bengals on the road at Buffalo, +5 on the road, over under 49. I'll start this one out. I'm gonna hammer the over in this one. I love the points. Love the points in this game. I think it's gonna be a high shootout affair, a good passing attack. Um, And since the Bengals were my AFC pick to make the Super Bowl, I'm probably going to put money on the Bengals +5 just to back my own words. But that makes me nervous. I could see Buffalo winning by 7 at least.
Okay, fair enough, Dave. I kind of agree with you there, but the only thing that's preventing me from saying the Bills by a million is the Josh Allen has so many turnovers this year. He's got so many picks, so many fumbles. It's like he just hasn't. He's a great quarterback, but he just hasn't had that extra key. You know what I'm saying? To really prevent those turnovers or not put the ball in dangerous situations. Like I feel like he's always trying to make a play. He's always trying to use his size, his big brick shithouse ass to run around and try and stiff arm people and throw a 75-yard touchdown to Stephon Diggs. But I still think I like the Bills there. So I'm gonna take what is it? Bills -7. You said
5.
5? Oh yeah, easily Bills -5.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen's electric, but he's not responsible. He needs to be more responsible, especially in this playoff run. Tuck the ball. Like when he's running around, he's carrying around like a loaf of bread, and defenses are hitting it out and punching it out. He's got to tuck that thing away. And like you said, sometimes he just launches the ball and hopes that something good happens. Where he needs to find the open receiver and just be okay with that instead of just chucking everything downfield. John, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I was not impressed with the Bengals. I guess the Bills weren't that impressive either, but they'll be at home. I think the Bills Mafia will be rowdy, which is just how I like them. And I'm actually, because I forgot to text Amanda and get her like tease of the week, I'm going to take the Bills. Put me down for -13.5 Bills.
Whoa.
2 touchdown win. I think if they can get up fast on the Bengals, I think they can keep it going.
13 and a half.
for the Bills.
What do you have to say about the DeMar Hamlin game though? That was the at Cincinnati when Cincinnati was up 7-3 and then they were driving in their second possession. Like the Bengals looked like they belonged and looked like they could hang with the Bills. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think the Bills are going to think of that game and they're going to think about their brother in arms, DeMar Hamlin, and it'll just make them more motivated to beat the living piss out of the Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. No hate to Joe Burrow, love the guy, but I think they're going to be looking for blood, boy. They want to embarrass the Bengals. Because if I am correct, did the Bengals knock the Bills out of the playoffs last year, or was that the Chiefs?
Chiefs.
Chiefs did. Okay.
It was that crazy shootout, and then the Bills scored with like 20 seconds left, and then the Chiefs came down and scored to tie it,
Phenomenal
and then
game.
went to overtime. The Chiefs got the ball first, scored a touchdown, and won. So the NFL did thankfully change that overtime rule for the playoffs, which is good. So I don't know if you guys knew about that, but if a team gets the ball first, goes down and scores a touchdown, the other team has a chance to score as well.
Instead of just completely the door being shut on them, right?
Yeah.
I like the over as well. But yeah, I think the Bills are going to be out for blood and just, knock them down, stomp on their head a few times, walk away.
John, what are your thoughts? What if they just brought on DeMar Hamlin at halftime? You know, they just brought him onto the field and subbed him into the game. Do you think that would give them the extra spur back to come back and beat the Bengals if they were down?
I don't think they even got to do that. I think they just got to have him on the sideline. Or FaceTime him in on the big jumbotron. Him watching the game at home or something.
Yeah, him sitting in like Cabo or something on the beach, just like, yeah, let's go, team, yeah.
Bills Mafia, and then they'll just get amped up. Yeah. I think it'll be. I hope it's a close game, but I could really see the Bills beating the shit out of them.
I was listening to a podcast and they said that they should have a clip of the doctors picking DeMar Hamlin up and just throwing him through a table to get the crowd going.
Yeah, I'll get the people going.
Yeah.
They just
okay.
The table.
Is it too soon, or is it because he's fine? No, it's not too soon. Is that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's too soon. I mean, it just depends on what kind of joke you're making.
It's not like he's dead. He's fine. Like he's completely fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it might be a little too soon, but it's never too soon on the Amateur Hour podcast.
That's right.
The last game that we have is the Cowboys 49ers. We got Dallas going on the road to San Fran at +3.5, over under at 46. I'm going to start out by saying I love the over in this game. Two great defenses, but also two equally great offenses. So I like them scoring a decent amount of points here and having to keep up with each other. So I like the over. I think this over under is set a little bit too low. That Davey Deficits wants to jump all over it.
Davey Deficits is definitely going to be out and ready to play this weekend.
What do you think, Mike's Hard Lemonade?
Yeah, you've been babysitting that Mike's Hard Lemonade for the last hour and a half. Are you going to drink that or what?
Yeah, I'm almost done. It's a down home punch, so it's not a Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Oh,
and actually, it's if it makes you feel any better, it's actually only 10 ounces. It's not even 12 ounces.
Oh
that's
my
why it
God.
looks so tiny in your big Shrek hands.
Hey, I'm the co-host. So Jake, what are your thoughts on this game? I can't go second. Let Jake say his piece.
Okay. Honestly, I think this is going to be a really close game. I can't find much to separate these two teams. I mean, the Niners have home field advantage, but the Cowboys look really good this last game, and they've looked pretty good all year too. It's hard to say. What's the spread again, Dave?
-3.5 49ers.
I might take the Cowboys +3.5 just because I think this game is going to be won probably by less than 4 points, probably by a field goal. I think it's going to be really, really close, actually. And my pharmacy manager, my boss, is a big Dallas Cowboys fan, so I kind of want to see them lose because I know then he'll be devastated and it'll be funny. I get to call him and talk shit on the phone, but at the same time, I think the Cowboys have it in them to win this game.
Okay, I like that pick. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game for sure, which is why I think it's going to be high scoring. All right, John, what do you think?
I think the most sure thing is the over. I believe the 49ers have scored 30 points or more in like 6 out of the last 7 games. So I don't foresee them scoring any less than 20. I think I like the over a lot. They look good against the Seahawks, but the Seahawks weren't bad. They were a decent team, but I definitely think the Cowboys are a better team. And so I will actually take the Cowboys plus 3.5. I think the 49ers still win, but by a field goal. So
Wow. Interesting. Well,
I'll be rooting for Brock, but I don't want to jinx him. I'll be honest.
that is a good time to say that my lock of the week was the 49ers minus 3.5.
Nice. Perfect.
So we'll see about that. I think Dak Prescott is going to choke. I mean, he played really well against the Buccaneers, but I can't ride with Dak Prescott 2 weeks in a row. He turns the ball over more than almost anybody in the NFL. He missed a lot of games this year, so as far as like overall turnovers, he's not up there in the rankings, but he turns the ball over like at least once a game, and he played a really clean game against the Buccaneers, so I think those turnovers are a coming.
Hey, let me put a vision in your head for you guys. So the score, there's 35 seconds. No, there's 3 seconds left on the clock. The 49ers are beating the Cowboys 32-30. And is it Jason Sanders? Is he the kicker of the Cowboys?
Brett Maher.
Brett Maher, perfect, really close. He has a 33-yard kick to send them to the NFC Championship, and he chokes on it. Would that not be poetic?
That kick would make you feel more nervous than a Cody Parkey double doink against the Eagles from 43 yards out, you know?
Yeah.
I would not feel good if I was a Cowboys fan.
That's going to be fun to watch, boy, if it comes out. Because you know the announcers are just going to say, yeah, he missed four last week. Oh, boy. And he'll be thinking about that because you're a human being. I don't think it's hard to not. I mean, unless you're a robot, I think it's hard to not think of when you fucked up. If you have like the exact same situation, you know?
Especially when you have the ifs.
Yeah, and you're sitting there, you're like, fuck, this feels really familiar. And you're looking around and you're like, you look down, you're like, oh no, it's 33 yards away.
Yeah.
And I could just hear Joe Buck's voice on the broadcast like, he's a real shitter kicker. He missed 4 PATs last game, Troy, and it's going to be tough to see if he can bounce back here with the game on the line.
Yeah, and I could see Troy saying, well, Joe, I was a Cowboy, and maybe they could let me go out there and put this last one through, and then they'd trot his ass out there, old ass Troy Aikman, and you'd see him limp kick it right through.
I'd like to see him take a swing at it, and his leg just turns to dust after he hits it. Troy Aikman is the biggest stroke-off quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, dude.
He has ridden the coattails of Emmitt Smith and that offensive line his whole career, even into broadcasting, and everybody forgets that he was mediocre. And that was before my time. You know, I think he won his last Super Bowl before I was even alive, but I seen the highlights, and he's not impressive as a quarterback. The NFL was different back then. You took the snap, you turned around, you put your hands under the center's taint, you took the snap, you turned around, put it right into Emmitt Smith's stomach, and then he ran for, the NFL lead in rushing yards. So can't be that hard.
He had Jerry Rice too. No. Who do you have? Michael Irvin.
Irvin, yeah.
Yeah. Jerry Rice was on the 49ers. That's my bad.
Yeah, this is a classic matchup, actually. The Cowboys-Niners is a classic matchup because I feel like they played in the playoffs a lot in like the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Jerry Rice and Troy Aikman.
Joe Montana, Steve Young, all those guys.
Yeah,
for sure. It should be good. I think everyone's going to get excited, and we'll see also how, it's kind of interesting. The Cowboys were kind of bitter about it, but the 49ers played the very first game of the wild card weekend on Saturday afternoon, and the Cowboys played the very last game on Monday night. So now they're going to conjoin here and play Sunday evening or afternoon. It's like a late afternoon game, like 5:30 or something. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And I know when the Cowboys inevitably lose and choke, they're going to be blaming that transition and that the 49ers had more rest. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the text from Amanda saying it's bullshit and just seeing how it goes from there.
Who would you guys, if you had to pick one of the 8 quarterbacks, who do you think is going to ball out this week, real quick?
I like my guy Joe Burrow on the road at Buffalo. This guy is made for big moments. He is Joe Cool, he's not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of the big moments. I think he's going to go out there and ball out. I don't know if they're going to win. I think he's going to keep it close and play really, really well and give him at least a shot.
Okay, fair enough. I think Patrick Mahomes is my pick here. against the shitty Jaguars secondary. I think he's gonna go for at least 3 or 4 touchdowns.
I'm gonna take Trevor Lawrence. I think he continues that dominant second half against the Chargers. He's gonna railroad him, Jake.
Fine, okay. I respect that. Okay.
You guys have
some text messages from me if the opposite happens.
I look forward to it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you guys have a shitter of the week? Which quarterback's going to take a big old dump on the field and just ruin their whole season?
Shitter of the week, Brock Purdy. He's been riding way too high. He's been getting way too big for his britches, okay? He's way too big for his britches right now. I think he's going to come to a stark reality. At least, maybe not this game, but if they win this game, it's going to be the next game after that. I think he's looked really, really great. Great coming off as a shitty Iowa State shitty quarterback, but I just don't believe in him yet. I just can't.
Dang, that's I could see John being his hopes and dreams being crushed as you were just reciting that statement.
People like you motivate Brock Purdy, Jake. So just keep it up. That's all I have to say to you. I like the guy, and I don't wish anything bad upon him, but I think Jalen Hurts might have a tough game. Maybe just not as good as he's used to. So I don't think he is atrocious, but maybe an interception and a fumble in there. So I'll take Jalen Hurts, even though I do like him a lot. I want to preface him with that. I wish him the best.
I'm gonna go with my boy Dak Prescott. I think he's gonna struggle this week against a tough 49ers defense. I think they're gonna just be feasting on him. And the Cowboys have a decent offensive line, but they're not gonna be able to stop Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead and those guys flying off the edge. And I think they're gonna have a field day with him. He's gonna play decent, but I think he's gonna see their season come to an end because of his turnovers.
I like it. Well, this is episode 20. Do you guys have any last words? We had our guest today was Jake Sepka.
Yeah, don't close it out. You did. That's a horrific closeout. I thought you texted us. You wanted to hear who would bounce back for next year for your dynasty league or something.
Oh yeah, we can do that quick. Yeah.
Jake, did you prepare any players that are going to bounce back?
Do you have any bounce back guys? Bounce back.
Bounce back in fantasy?
Yeah, just
in life.
In general. In life.
Maybe they get married. Maybe they impregnate their girlfriend. I don't know. They just start, riding high in life.
You know what? It's really tough for me to say this, but honestly, I think Russell Wilson's going to come back next year.
I agree with Jake.
After Nathaniel Hackett just imploding the team and ripping it apart, and then never being able to find a rhythm, I think Russell Wilson has proven himself over the last 10 years he's played. So I think he's going to come back.
It can't get much worse. So
yeah.
One thing we learned about the world in this whole debacle is that the world loves shitting on Russell Wilson. That is one thing I learned. They were waiting. Everyone was waiting in the shadows. It was the silent majority just ready to just rip him a new asshole as soon as he had a bad year, boy. And he got it.
Dude, it's because he's the absolute worst person, the most annoying, obnoxious person ever. And if he was just a normal dude, everyone would feel so bad for him. But the fact that he's the most annoying guy, Mr. Unlimited, he's always just being so extra. He was practicing against the air when he was trying to get his little wrist injury back better last year. Most people, it would be 8 weeks, but Russell, he'll come back in 4. He just does all this dumb, corny shit, and it's awesome to see him struggle. But if he was a normal dude, coming out of Wisconsin, he was, humble, quiet, undersized, everyone loved him because he had a chip on his shoulder. He performed well, but then he got this big ego and his head blew up a million sizes, and now he just sucks to deal with. So I'm with Bo, our guest that's been on a couple times, who hates Russell Wilson with a burning passion. I can't stand him anymore.
It's okay. Who's yours bounce back? David, bounce back.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple. My phone's at 1%, so I'll try to rattle them off so it doesn't die. Running backs, I'll go by position. I got Cam Akers and Jonathan Taylor bouncing back big time for next year. Cam Akers strictly due to volume. I think the team will be better as well. Jonathan Taylor due to health, and I also think they're going to improve at quarterback, which will help the run game. and they're going to get a better coach as well, I hope.
Bounce
Wide
back.
receiver, I got Marquise Brown. I think they're going to trade DeAndre Hopkins, thus making Marquise Brown the number one receiver there in Arizona. Hopefully, Kyler will come back a little healthy. He'll be able to sling it around, and he'll need a number one wide receiver. That'll be Marquise Brown. He'll be healthier this year as well. Next, I
Bounce
got
back.
Michael Gallup, healthier, coming back again this year. He's a good number two receiver behind CeeDee Lamb, and the Cowboys' offense really spreads it out and throws the ball downfield. Michael Gallup, hopefully getting healthier in the offseason, will come back ready for some vengeance.
Bounce back.
Okay, we got Elijah Moore out of the Jets. I think they're going to improve at quarterback.
Oh.
They throw the ball downfield. He's a very athletic wide receiver, very young. He had some sort of spite with Zach Wilson. I think getting Zach Wilson the hell out of Dodge,
Milf
plugging in
Hunter.
Tom Brady in New York or Lamar Jackson in New York is going to improve Elijah Moore's game. So I think Elijah Moore takes a step up next year.
Bounce back.
Lastly, I have Allen Robinson for the Rams. Hopefully, they get Matt Stafford back. If Matt Stafford decides to retire, I think the Rams go after someone like Aaron Rodgers, plugging him in there, seeing how he does. Just put him in LA with Sean McVay, see what happens. I think Allen Robinson takes a huge step forward. He's still relatively young.
Bounce back.
Bounce back.
Two tight ends to finish it off here. Number one, I got
Whoa.
Darren Waller. Darren Waller is a freak athlete, great tight end. You know, Derek Carr loves him. Darren Waller was hurt all year. He's going to get healthy. People are going to forget about him. You plug Darren Waller back in there. Congrats on finishing the Mike's Hard, the 10-ouncer in one episode.
Yeah,
Hit it quick, hit it.
Bounce back.
Lastly, we got Kyle Pitts out of Atlanta. I think, Marcus Mariota, one of the most legendary quarterbacks of all time, but he didn't really spread the ball much to Kyle Pitts. He kind of dumped the ball off to running backs. You saw the running backs have a great season. So I think getting Desmond Ridder in there, they have an off season together. He throws the ball downfield to Kyle Pitts. He's going to bounce back very nicely.
Bounce back.
Here's my don't forget this guy player of the year, okay? Javonte Williams. Don't forget this guy. A lot of people are forgetting about him. Jake forgot about him. He is the Broncos running back who got hurt in week 4 this year, I believe.
ACL.
He's freakishly talented. Everybody was behind him before this year started. Russell Wilson, like you guys boldly predict, is going to take some steps forward next year. They got Nathaniel Hackett, arguably one of the worst coaches of all time, right behind Urban Meyer, the finger fondler. And he's out of there. So you're going to see Javonte Williams come back healthy into a much improved offense with a much improved quarterback, and he's going to be a great running back in the NFL.
Bounce back.
Bounce back. Wow, what a bounce back from David.
That was good, David. We should make that a segment where you just fist fire off these freaking facts, man.
Yeah, thanks. I had that. I just loaded the gun before this episode and just was firing it off.
That was good. I like that. That was entertaining, Jake.
Yeah, way to make me look like shit, David.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding.
Jake says, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson on this one.
Yeah.
Jake,
I think it's a good pick.
what last minute thoughts do you have? Did you enjoy being on the episode today, talking to the masses?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. It's always a good time talking to you guys. You guys are like the Dumb and Dumber of podcasting, kind of. It's just like you got a good chemistry. You got some good segments. You let me run my mouth a little bit, which was good. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good season, a good NFL season. It was very entertaining. I'm glad you guys persisted through every single week. It had to be tough. There had to be some weeks where you just sat there wanting to kill yourself because you thought, oh, man, I got to make another podcast this week with David. Oh, man.
Yeah, there were definitely some weeks like that. Trust me.
No, I will say Dave's MVP. He records it, he uploads it, so he's the MVP this year, and I'm taking over those duties next year to make it fair.
Yeah, we only see half your face again, so maybe scoot into the frame would be nice.
How's that?
But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. I'd like to end the episode by saying, Jake, thanks for coming on. I'd like to formally apologize for my Make-A-Wish comment. Number one, because it's just a very rude comment to say and not funny in the grand scheme of things, but it's more of an inside joke, and Jake, we're just happy to have you on. We're glad you made time for us. We know you're a busy guy. As John pointed out, not busy with a relationship, but busy with other things in life. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
But most importantly, thank you for that diagram, Jacob. That was the most beautiful thing we've seen on this podcast.
That was my favorite part of the episode, I would say. My favorite part, for sure.
Oh, that was great.
So thanks for coming on, Jake. Great to have you. Hopefully next year you can get some wins by putting your picks in. We'll have you on, on a weekly basis when you're just raking in the cash. So thanks again for coming on. This has been episode 20 of Amateur Hour Podcast with John and David and our special guest, Jake Sepka. So have a good divisional round weekend, folks, and hopefully your bets win you some money, and we have a fruitful weekend in the books.
Bounce back.
Bounce back.